Many of us may have heard of an organization's mission or vision. These explain what an organization aims to achieve and how it will go about achieving it. A massive transformative purpose, MTP, is so much more than that. It speaks to the aspirations of the organization in how it aims to impact the world. It is deeply tied into why the organization exists in the first place, not just for the services or products it offers, but in the impact it aspires to have on the world, societies, people's lives, and our planet, on the things never thought possible and the changes we do not even know to ask for. Through digital transformation and smart technology, it is not as far-reaching as it once may have been to affect the world at large with our dreams and aspirations. There are many who believe that we must have a certain amount of output, 10 times more than our competitors, a certain amount of profit, or a certain amount of power to have an MTP. But the far-reaching and automatic effects of digital life mean that we have more power than ever before to affect the globe with one seemingly small creation. Whoever you are, whether a politician, an academic, a coder in a basement, or founder of a small business, you can and should think about what your MTP is. With respect to an MTP, Peter Diamandis has been quoted to say, "Find something you would die for and live for it." What world do you want to be part of? What do you want to change or affect? And how can what you are doing at this moment start you on that path? It will not happen overnight. It may not even happen in a year. But with an MTP to empower and inspire your vision and mission, you can steer the world towards the change that you see. Be idealistic. Be realistic too. We have never before had the tools we have now. Tools that are changing the world at an exponential pace. So let us think about what we want to transform and then look to the amazing tools at our disposal to help us reach our aspirations. How can AI give us the tools we need to solve our problems and reach our MTP? In every century, every generation, we exist and live with the tools of that time. Sometimes things change and progress slowly, minor improvements to already existing products, processes, and services. Sometimes major inventions or disruptions to industries and ways of life change things completely and quickly. The invention of electricity, the fax machine, the aeroplane, steel, the personal computer, the internet, and many more major life-altering events all change society completely. Smart technology is one of those events. It is our latest tool to improve, survive, damage, and completely change the way we live. Only we have not yet realized how to use it, not really. And we have certainly not realized how to govern, control, and direct it. We are relying on people and businesses who know how to use these tools to do something, although we are not really sure what, and we mostly just sit back as we watch and wait. The world at large has not much idea of what is being built, who is building it, or what it does. Our opinions on smart technology are vastly uninformed and positive, negative, or neutral. We fear, we are excited, or we are just carrying on while our services and processes change. We may experience relief or discomfort by these changes, but we get used to our new ways of banking, for example, and eventually that becomes the new normal. Many involved in the dialogue are talking about the potential improvements and dangers of smart technology and AI. We need ethics guidelines. We need laws. We need to make sure we are using it for good. We need to use these tools to effect widespread social inclusion and lift people out of desperation and degradation. We need to improve our businesses, create jobs, ensure we are not becoming irrelevant. Fewer people are talking about practical ways to actually do this. It is clearly time for action, not just talking, not just writing. While these conversations are important, how much longer will they go on for before the world sits down and does the work of actualization? Not merely leaving it up to the businesses, organizations, and research institutes who are using and creating it. The point is that we all need to be involved in the discussions and actions. People need to know what AI and smart technology are. We need to know the potential they hold. We need to look at how and where our latest technologies are already being used, and we need to understand the effects they are having and their potential impacts. With education and knowledge, we are then equipped to not merely talk about ethics and laws, but to truly see the tool of smart technology for what it is. Then we can create the guidelines, policies, and laws that the whole world needs, and that the whole world needs to agree on. Whatever our purpose, whatever we want to achieve, AI and its complementary technologies are the tools we have. They are the 21st century tools to survive, thrive, and solve problems. How can we use it? We start with knowing what it is, what it can do, and how it is already being used. If we want to create infrastructure, obtain information, start new businesses, provide education and medicine to remote areas, protect our resources, provide new services, improve services, eradicate corruption, solve crimes, improve behavior, or cure diseases, intelligent technologies offer us ways of doing this that we may not have dreamed of. So what does an MTP for humanity look like? To qualify as an MTP, it needs to be bold, ambitious, transformational, purpose-driven, and able to unite, motivate, and inspire people to passionately execute on the purpose and vision. Here is my first stab at such an expanded MTP. Evolve a dynamic, empathic, prosperous, thriving, and self-optimizing civilization that benefits everyone in sustainable ways and in harmony with nature. By driving beneficial outcomes for all life through decentralized, adaptive, and agile economic, social, and governance systems that reward active participation and positive contributions to society and civilization, but also help to keep peace and protect humanity from any potential harm in elastic ways that respect individual freedom and privacy. And through using and democratizing knowledge, science, smart technology, and other tools in optimal human-centric ways that are based on wisdom, good values, and ethics to dynamically solve problems, create opportunities and abundance, and share benefits with everyone. And maximizing quality of life, community building, virtues and character strength development, sense-making, standard of living, well-being, and meaningful living of everyone. And with consideration of the best possible livable habitat, other living organisms, the environment, and our place in the universe. If humanity can execute on this MTP, it would address Mark Manson's concerns with respect to people not having hope in the future due to lacking a sense of control, a belief in the value of something, and a community. This MTP looks at humanity and civilization as a living organism where we want to optimize both on an individual and civilization level. As with our own minds and bodies, we preferably want every part of our system to be in good shape and as healthy as possible and living in the best possible conditions that support quality of life, excellent well-being, and meaningfulness. We also want to live in a safe, stimulating, dynamic, empathic, prosperous, and thriving world driven by self-optimizing economic, social, and governance systems where we can actively participate in community building and make positive contributions to society, have high-quality collective sense-making, and know that others in society are also incentivized to contribute in creating a sustainable, self-organizing civilization with the help of democratized smart technology that aims to dynamically solve problems, create opportunities and abundance, and share benefits with everyone, all in harmony with nature. The optimization function associated with this MTP for humanity should aim to maximize supporting the motivational requirements of every person as also defined by Maslow's 8-stage model in terms of physiological, safety, psychological, belongingness, love, esteem, cognitive, aesthetic, self-actualization, and transcendent needs. Scalable smart technology and tools such as personalized AI agents and life coaches under full control of the user can, for example, assist in this regard. I will share more about this in the last chapter. It would be ideal to also help people to build and continuously improve on virtues and character strengths. Positive psychology has compiled the works of researchers to create a classification system for broadly valued positive traits. The 6 classes of virtues and the underlying character strengths consist of wisdom and knowledge, for example, creativity, curiosity, open-mindedness, love of learning, perspective, and wisdom. Courage, for example, bravery, persistence, integrity, and vitality. Humanity, for example, love, kindness, and social intelligence. Justice, for example, being an active citizen who is socially responsible and a loyal team member, fairness, and leadership. Temperance, for example, forgiveness and mercy, humility and modesty, self-regulation and self-control, and prudence. And transcendence, for example, appreciation of beauty and excellence, gratitude, hope, humor and playfulness, and spirituality or a sense of purpose. A good character is typically based on the strength of authenticity, persistence, kindness, gratitude, hope, humor, and other character strengths. Just imagine a world where we still have our individual freedom and can guide humanity and build into our educational systems to become better humans, not only for our own benefit, current fellow citizens of the world, and other life on Earth, but also causing positive ripple effects for future generations of civilization to benefit from what we are currently contributing to civilization. There are so many possible futures at any given moment. These futures are shaped by our collective and individual choices. Some accidental, some intentional, always shaped by many different choices which can, for example, be attributed to incidences, inaction, behaviors, and reactions at a time. The relationship between what we do today and what we see unfold in 1 day, 1 year, and 100 years is casual. Usually, it takes large movements and inventions to shape the future, but with digital smart technology and its processing and sharing power, whose speed and impact we are still struggling to understand, one suddenly has much more power to shape climates, direction, and entire futures for the entire world. This may seem scary, but it is empowering. It is empowering to know that our individual lives and the collective lives we shape will be the guiding force into the future. If we are aware, educated, and intentional about it, we move into a future that we want, one where humans are the center of a world enhanced by machines, not overtaken by them. Imagination combined with what we have already seen of smart technology and where it has the potential to take us allows us to make some educated guesses about our future. Not a future 500 or 1,000 years from now, but 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. Many of these future imagined ways of life are already being used in some ways, and many minds are applied to solving particular problems. In a paper, Goals for Humanity, David Montgomery proposes the development of progress goals for humanity should go beyond the reduction of negatives. He offers some ideas for goal development as an ongoing process based on Maslow's goals hierarchy, values, standard of living, quality of life, relationships among individuals, and literature. It is good to keep this in mind as we consider the goals that were developed by the United Nations in 2015 as they set the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and transforming our world from an economic, social, and environmental perspective. By the time of writing this book, we are already a few years into executing this agenda, which is an action plan for humans, the planet, and prosperity that aims to also reinforce and extend peace and freedom globally. They consider the greatest global challenge from a sustainability perspective to be the elimination of poverty in the broadest sense and to cure and secure our planet. To this end, the United Nations has defined 17 integrated and unified Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and 169 targets to not only end poverty and hunger, but also make sure that every person can fulfill their potential in a respectable, peaceful, and fair manner, and within a healthy environment where they can live prosperously, fulfilled, and free from fear and violence. There is a key constraint in that economic, social, and technological progress should occur in harmony with nature, as the planet needs to be protected from becoming a less livable planet for us. The latter implies that for the sake of present and future generations of humanity, our consumption and production of goods and services needs to be sustainable, that natural resources need to be managed in a sustainable fashion, and that we need to urgently address climate change. The SDGs include stopping poverty in all its forms everywhere, terminating hunger, achieving food security, improving nutrition and promoting sustainable agriculture, ensuring healthy lives, and promoting well-being for all at all ages, ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education, and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all, achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls, ensuring availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all, ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all, promoting sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all, building resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization and foster innovation, reducing inequality within and among countries, making cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, ensuring sustainable consumption and production patterns, taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts, conserving and sustainably using the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development, protecting, restoring, and promoting sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably managing forests, combating desertification, and halting and reversing land degradation and halting biodiversity loss, promoting peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels, and strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. Although a lot of these goals are about reduction of negatives and dealing with the harsh realities of our present world, it does also address some aspects of Maslow's goal hierarchy with respect to basic needs on a physiological and safety level, and aspects such as values, standard of living, quality of life, and relationships among individuals. That said, there is an opportunity to also have goals more focused on supporting humanity's psychological, cognitive, aesthetic, self-fulfillment, and transcendence needs. In the journal paper, The Sustainable Development Goals Viewed Through Gross National Happiness, Ubuntu, and Björn Vivier, as well as doctoral dissertation, Doreen van Norren provides a cross-cultural comparison of the South African philosophy of Ubuntu, which means I am because we are, and emphasizes the value of relatedness and compassion. The Buddhist gross national happiness, or Bhutan, which calls for mutually reinforcing material and spiritual development, compassion, balance, moderation, harmony between the inner and outer worlds, respect for nature, and interdependence of all things. And the Native American idea of Björn Vivier from Ecuador, which is based on living in harmony with others or nature and in balance between spiritual and material wealth. Doreen, with whom I also recently participated as a speaker in the Africa Knows conference, outlines the perspectives of these three worldviews on the SDGs, and specifically how they view development, sustainability, goals, and indicators, the implicit value underpinnings of the SDGs, prioritization of goals, and missing links and leadership. She argues that although the SDGs contain language of all three these specific worldviews, it is evident that Western modernism has a dominant influence with individualism more represented and private sector responsibility lacking to a certain extent, as opposed to having sharing, collective agency, and the human nature well-being interrelationship better incorporated. Doreen therefore recommends a reinterpretation of the SDG framework and globalization in general by finding common ground between Western modernism, Ubuntu, happiness, and Björn Vivier. This might, for example, involve replacing words like development with interrelationship, end result-orientated goals with process thinking, and sustainability with cyclic nature and/or earth governance. Although some tweaks and slight improvements can be made, I do not think there are a lot of people that can fault the aspiring and forward-looking vision that accompanies the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to provide a solid foundation for a better world. We envisage a world free of poverty, hunger, disease, and want, where all life can thrive. We envisage a world free of fear and violence, a world with universal literacy, A world with equitable and universal access to quality education at all levels, to healthcare and social protection, where physical, mental, and social well-being are assured. A world where we reaffirm our commitments regarding the human right to safe drinking water and sanitation, and where there is improved hygiene, and where food is sufficient, safe, affordable, and nutritious. A world where human habitats are safe, resilient, and sustainable, and where there is universal access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy. We envisage a world of universal respect for human rights and human dignity, the rule of law, justice, equality, and non-discrimination, of respect for race, ethnicity, and cultural diversity, and of equal opportunity permitting the full realization of human potential and contributing to shared prosperity. A world which invests in its children and in which every child grows up free from violence and exploitation. A world in which every woman and girl enjoys full gender equality and all legal, social, and economic barriers to their empowerment have been removed. A just, equitable, tolerant, open, and socially inclusive world in which the needs of the most vulnerable are met. We envisage a world in which every country enjoys sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth and decent work for all. A world in which consumption and production patterns and use of all natural resources, from air to land, from rivers, lakes, and aquifers to oceans and seas, are sustainable. One in which democracy, good governance, and the rule of law, as well as an enabling environment at national and international levels, are essential for sustainable development, including sustained and inclusive economic growth, social development, environmental protection, and the eradication of poverty and hunger. One in which development and the application of technology are climate sensitive, respect biodiversity, and are resilient. One in which humanity lives in harmony with nature and in which wildlife and other living species are protected. Although this vision is great and also ties in with the proposed MTP for humanity, from an execution perspective, the vision and goals are likely to be more difficult to achieve, if not impossible in its totality, as it is embedded in the practical realities and constraints of the present world and assumes still working with the current institutions, governance systems, economic systems, political systems, and ideologies to address the problems that we have as humanity. The World Economic Forum also notes in 2020 that the delivery of many of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals are far off track, and in some areas, progress is going backwards. To this end, they have introduced a global public-private sector 2030 vision platform, a merger of ARM's 2030 Vision Partnership Initiative with the WEF's Frontier 2030 Initiative and co-chaired by the United Nations Development Programme to help mobilize a more focused and collaborative effort to use smart technology to help achieve these goals in accelerated fashion. Although initiatives such as this one is good and part of a multi-pronged approach to at least work towards the realization of the SDGs, their effectiveness will likely still be limited if it does not fully address the more fundamental aspects and systemic root causes of the underlying problems that we face. What I'm advocating is, in addition to the vision and the SDGs, to also have specific goals that supports the proposed MTP for humanity that can help take us from our present economic, social, and governance systems to one where we have given ourselves a much better chance to be successful in tackling the global problems from a wealth gap and inequality, economic, political, society, climate change, technology, and public safety and cybersecurity perspective. Some of these specific challenges, as also mentioned in the previous chapter, include the lack of economic opportunity and unemployment, safety, security and well-being, lack of education, food and water security, government accountability, transparency and corruption, political polarization, dysfunctional governance, digital dictatorships, societal manipulation and political propaganda, religious conflicts, poverty where more than 70% of the people in the world own less than $10,000 or roughly 3% of total wealth in the world, inequality from an income, discrimination, and geopolitical perspective, financial inclusion and credit access, large-scale conflict and wars, for example, nuclear war, biowarfare, and lethal autonomous weapons, pandemics, health in developing nations, climate change and destruction of nature, technology disruption and intelligent automation, overpopulation in developing regions such as Africa, population collapse, and cybercrime.